Hello friends, welcome to the part 2 of my actuarial sessions. Here we are dealing with the second topic, that is principles of actuarial modeling. So in that, the contents which are left to be discussed are still pending. So of which I am going to deal with is the stochastic and deterministic models, the discrete and continuous state spaces and time sets, scenario-based and proxy models, and suitability of the model. Let us move on to the stochastic and deterministic model explanation. So what does this two concepts exactly means to us? So stochastic model is one that recognizes the random nature of the input components. So this means you will have a set of variables, set of alternatives. Whereas on the other hand, a model that does not contain any random component is deterministic in nature, which means you have one particular variable that is fixed. It will not fluctuate, it will not change in the future also. On the other hand, in a stochastic model, the output is random in nature, like the inputs, which are random variables. Obviously, if you have the input itself fluctuating, you will derive fluctuating outputs. That's what they mean to say. In a deterministic model, the output is determined once a set of fixed inputs and relationships between them have been defined. So, best example is the approach of using Monte Carlo simulation. A deterministic model is really just a special simplified case of a stochastic model. So this Monte Carlo simulation, you will be dealing in depth in CM2 and CS1 and CS2 actuarial papers, as there will be all statistical calculations in it. Okay. So understand one thing in this slide is that stochastic models will be dealing with various chances or various probability of different input variables being put. You might have one variable which might not be same like the previous one, or the third variable will not be the same like the second one. So there might be different alternatives or chances of various input parameters to occur or input variables to occur. So you will decide it by coming up with probabilities or the chances of that variables to occur. So this is a case of stochastic models. Whereas in deterministic, you will have just one fixed variable with a full 100% chance of that variable to occur. That means that variable is constant and it will not fluctuate. So as they have said here in the third point, a deterministic model is really just a special case of a stochastic model. Why? Because in stochastic model, you will have a range or alternatives of various variables or input variables and the output results, of which, considering the choice of which output results are suitable, you will select that. So that will be your deterministic model based on some predetermined assumption or predetermined criteria. That is why they have mentioned here that deterministic model is a special case of a stochastic model. A very simple illustration, a mathematical illustration of this topic of deterministic and stochastic is explained in this slide. So there is a problem solving question asked here that an investor has bought shares worth 5,000 GBP and wants to estimate how much they will be worth in a year's time. Describe both the deterministic and stochastic model based on an expected growth rate of 7% over the year. As if you can see here that if you have purchased a share and invested 5,000 GBP, the growth rate for the entire year is 7%. So you might expect the share price to rise after 1 year, considering the 7%. So here in this case, the deterministic model states the outcome from a deterministic model is the prediction that a value in a year's time would be 5,000, that is the shares, the value of the shares which you have invested, multiplied by the growth rate. It is 7%. So here they have multiplied it by calculating it as 5,000 into 1 plus I. So I is a 7% for that particular year. 5,000 into 1.07 is 5350 GBP. So if it would have been for 2 years with the same growth rate, you would have calculated it as 1.07 squared. So it will be 5,000 into 1.07 into 1.07 because it's a cumulative growth rate by default. So this is a deterministic model because your 7% rate is fixed throughout the model. Whereas in the case of stochastic model, stochastic model allows for randomness in the growth rate. For example, it might be decided that the probabilities of different growth rates for the shares, which they are illustrated as a problem solving in the next slide. So here in deterministic model, this one growth rate was fixed. Whereas in stochastic model, you will find that 7% growth rate is being distributed into different proportions for different proportion in the form of probabilities or the chances of an event occurring, like this, as if we can see in the next slide. So these are the alternatives of growth rates given to you on the left hand side in the table. One is 20%, the one is 10%, 0%, minus 10%. And the probability of each of this growth rate occurring is 0.1, 0.6, 0.2, and 0.1, which means there is a 0.1 chance or 10% chance of my growth rate to be 20%, or there is a 0.6 chance or 60% chance of my growth rate to be 10%, or there is a 0.2 chance or 20% chance for no growth rate, or there is a 0.1 chance or a 10% chance to have a negative growth rate of 10%. So this is the distribution or bifurcation of the growth rates. So sum of the probabilities put together is 1. So here the expected growth rate is calculated as sum of growth into probability of occurrence, which means 20% into 0.1 plus 10% into 0.6 plus 0% into 0.2 and minus 10% into 0.1. So summing all this product will give me as 7%. So this is how you calculate a stochastic model. So considering the 5,000 as the amount which I've invested for the shares, if I run this model multiple times, if it is run 100 times, there is a list of 100 predicted values which might look like this as given below. The 5,500, 5,000, 5,000, 6,000, 5,000, 4,500, and 6,000. So it keeps on fluctuating. So you will learn about Monte Carlo simulation in depth in CM2 and other CS papers. So that will be more familiar for you to understand. Right now in this chapter, it's not possible to explain. I can just give you an understanding of it by showing such simple examples. So as if you can see, if one is interested in the results of a single scenario, they rely on deterministic model. Or if one is interested in the distribution of results of possible scenarios, or we can say range of scenarios, they rely on stochastic model. If the stochastic model is investigated by using Monte Carlo simulation, then this provides a collection of suitably large number of different deterministic models, each of which is considered equally likely or equal chances for the event to occur. So in this previous slide, if you remember, say you had a growth rate of 20%, 10%, 0%, or minus 10%. Say rather than distributing the probability unevenly, if I distributed 0.25, 0.25, and 0.25, you calculate and find out what exactly will be your expected growth rate exactly. We can just find out. As if I can calculate it, you will get something like 5%. So the growth rate, expected growth rate is fluctuating here as I had put equal probability of occurrence of growth. Or you might fluctuate the not just the probability, but the growth rate. If the growth rate is fluctuated, rather than keeping 20%, 10%, 0%, or minus 10%, I might keep it as say 15, 20, 5, or 6. Again, it might fluctuate, or the expected growth rate will completely change. So accordingly, the outcome from this model will fluctuate. So as I mentioned in the comparing to the previous slide, in the current slide, I very well stated about the Monte Carlo simulation. So the Monte Carlo simulation does something like this one. So coming to the third point of this slide, the stochastic model is investigated by using Monte Carlo simulation. Then this provides a collection of suitably large number of different deterministic models, each of which is considered equally likely. Monte Carlo simulation is where a computer is set up to run a stochastic model number of times, example 10,000 times. So you'll be doing a lot of iterations and repetitions. So this will be using pseudo-random numbers generated by the computer. So this concept will be covered in CS1, CS2, and CM2, as I said. The numbers generated by the computer are pseudo-random rather than truly random because they are generated using a prescribed method, because it's a computer-based algorithms or machine algorithms are used. That's the reason. So moving on to the discrete and continuous state spaces and time sets. So here, before this, I explained about in short what is exactly stochastic and deterministic model exactly means. So moving on to the next concept, which is discrete and continuous state spaces. So the state of a model is a set of variables that describe the system at a particular point in time, taking into account the goals of the study. It is possible to represent any future scenario as states, as will be developed in later chapters. So consider an insurance policy that will provide an income if the policyholder is sick and unable to work. We might model the future state of the policyholders as healthy, that is, he's not receiving any benefit, sick, that is receiving a benefit, and dead, or dead, you can say. So this is just a chart from my side I had drawn to just give an idea that what is the situation of a policyholder or an individual who has taken an insurance from a particular company by paying the premiums on time, say even active person. So there might be a chance for the person who is active to move on to the ill health stage. Okay, right when he is on the ill health situation, there are two chances for him. Either he will die or he will recover and come back to the active stage. So that is the reason I have shown two arrows in the case of the active and the ill health situation. That is the stage between active and ill health has a two-way effect. He can come back to, he can recover back, or he will be in the ill health situation. Whereas in the case of death stage, that is a person who dies, he cannot recover back. It's not possible. So a person who is active will die directly due to some sudden heart problems or sudden ill health issues. A person who was active, who's traveling to the ill health stage, will die after when he is not recovered from that situation. So these all criteria or these three stages are referred by the insurance company whenever they're assessing the claims that is to be paid to the policy holders, considering the premiums paid by them, considering their age groups, considering their health situations, all put together, the policyholders' benefits will be paid by the insurance company. So the insurance company will be having a list of different mortality or the probability or the chance of a death or morbidity probability or a chance of a person suffering ill health situation. All set of numerical figures related to this will be kept by them or will be referred by them whenever they are deciding a fixed amount or sum assured to be paid to the policyholders. So these three criteria are very important for the insurance company or the pension firms also to decide about it. So next, move on to the scenario-based and proxy models. Most models depend on many input parameters. A scenario-based model would take into consideration a particular scenario that is a series of input parameters based on the scenario. Okay, a scenario means a real-time proper working environment where the model is being determined based on the live input parameters or proper accurate input parameters that you have collected. So different scenarios would be useful in decision analysis as one can evaluate the expected impact of a course of action. The projected valuation of assets and liabilities for an insurance company can be complex. It requires significant runs of Monte Carlo simulation. Hence, or therefore, proxy models are used to replace Monte Carlo simulations. These are expected to be faster but less accurate. So what do we understand by this slide is, see, there are two types of models that can be utilized. Either use a scenario based or use a proxy model. A scenario is used based on the various simulation models or techniques, in this case a Monte Carlo simulation that is being used. So you will have different repetitions or iterations of values to come up to a proper predetermined and fixed value assertion. Okay, because Monte Carlo simulation will have stochastic range of information, of which you will select one deterministic model, as I explained in the previous slide, that deterministic model will be fixed from the range of outputs based on some assumption or based on the policies or guidelines or the economy performance of a nation, so and so. So that value which you are ascertaining or fixing for the assets and liabilities of an insurance company will be taken care by some valuation team who's working on it. It will be indeed complex. So this is a case when they have the data to deal with. But what if they don't have a scenario-based data? What they will do? In this case, they will start using proxy models that are used to replace Monte Carlo simulations. So that will not give an accurate results for them. It will not be that accurate, but it will be less accurate. But at the same time, the models which they are deriving will be faster compared to Monte Carlo simulation. Because in Monte Carlo simulation, there are cases of time-consuming process, the risk and the cost factor involved. Well, proxy models will save a bit time and the cost also at the same time. Coming back to suitability of a model. In assessing the suitability of a model, it is important to consider the following: the objectives of the modeling exercise, the validity of the model for the purpose to which it is to be put, validity in the sense how much trustworthy the model is, you can say. Same is the case with validity of data to be used in assumptions, as given in the third point. Next is possible errors associated with the model or parameters used not being a perfect representation of the real world situation being modeled. So if any errors or omissions exist, you have to constantly search and refine it and clear it. Or if it is not relevant information, you have to discard it. The impact of correlations between the random variables that drive the model. So what example I can give in the fifth point, that is the last point mentioned in the slide, the impact of correlations. Say you want to assess the price of a car. Okay, what all variables you will consider to determine the price of that car? Okay, it will be like the brand value, okay, the engine compatibility, the speed of the car, the make of the seats, the price or the cost or the value of the cloth used in the driver's seats or the passenger seats, the mode of vehicle or the mode on which the vehicle is going to run, whether it's a fuel based or an electric based or a petrol or a diesel based car. So the correlation between all these variables, which is meaningful, that is the correlation between the speed of the car, the correlation between the speed of the car and the engine compatibility, the engine's accuracy. So that meaningful correlations between all these variables will, if it gives a meaningful or relevant results, that will drive the model. So this is how you derive the suitability of a model. Then other points left to determine the suitability of models is the extent of correlations between the various results produced from the model. As same as the input was correlated, the outputs also will be correlated. The current relevance of models written and used in the past. The credibility of the data input and results output. The dangers of spurious accuracy, that is, the accuracy seems to be good and exact, but it is not a proper result. It might fluctuate in the future, so that might not be a proper, well-determined or concluded accuracy. Okay, or it will not be a proper output. It will not be well-estimated output. In other words, next is ease with which the model and its results can be communicated, and the regulatory requirements. Regulatory in the sense all the guidelines, policies, the company laws, the nation's law for that particular companies or sectors who are valuing any particular product or services. So that is nothing but the regulatory requirements that has to, in which each and every organization have to comply or abide. So this is all, friends, for the part 2 of my explanations on the second chapter. There are still other concepts pending that I will explain in the part 3. Then thank you, and please don't forget to share and comment my video.